is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Dr. Gamma Verdian, BMEDSC and B-Dent. He has become Sydney's go-to dentist for exceptional dentistry. He has treated numerous Australian celebrities, although he has not treated my brother Paul Ferran down the street, who is the number one celebrity in my mind, and is regularly featured on Channel 7, 9, and Channel 10. Dr. Verdian's articles have appeared in Harper's Bazaar, Grazia, Mamma Mia, New Idea, Women's Day, OK Magazine, Women's Weekly, and Spa Clinics. I'm always seeing this guy on social media. His articles are always flying around on Twitter. Dr. Verdian's principles and philosophies revolve around providing a pain-free or close as possible and caring approach to his patients, as well as utilizing the latest in dental technology with an artistic eye for exceptional, long-lasting results for his patients. Known as having the best eyes in the business, Dr. Verdian is the only dentist in the country that utilizes microscope-enhanced dentistry for all his procedures. Thanks to his meticulous eye for detail, Dr. Verdian is now a world leader in microscope-enhanced dentistry and member of the American Academy, the Academy of Microscope Enhanced Dentistry, AMED. Dr. Verdian firmly believes that having the ability to magnify and work on a tooth up to 20 times larger allows for a level of dentistry that is unmatched, from early diagnosis of potential catastrophic conditions to repairing decaying teeth with perfectly molded fillings to performing ultra-refined cosmetic dentistry. That kind of detail makes the world of difference when you're doing implants, ultra-fine cosmetic dentistry, and laser dentistry. Over the last decade, Dr. Verdian has become one of Australia's leading cosmetic dentists, specializing in facial aesthetic design for smile makeovers and veneers. He has pioneered novel technology utilization as one of the first dentists to use 3D facial scanning technology to provide lifelike simulations for his patients' makeovers and cosmetic dentistry. He has become renowned for providing his patients with natural and lifelike veneers that are specifically designed using facial aesthetic design principles to ensure each patient has veneers suited to their unique facial features. He is commonly sought after to repair and restore smile makeovers and veneers that have been performed poorly, have not stood the test of time, and require rehabilitation. He aspires to get it done once, get it done right philosophy, as is evident in his long-lasting results. Dr. Verdian has lectured and presented at numerous conferences, and most recently at the Cosmetic Practitioner Summit, speaking to not only dentists, but plastic surgeons and other cosmetic practitioners. Dr. Verdian's leisure hours are often spent working on his iPad, doing digital smile designs hours. When not practicing dentistry, he will often be found on a basketball court, running or practicing his Krav Maga skills. What is a Krav Maga skill?
It is a type of self-defense, Howard. And sorry it's such a long intro.
No, it's a great intro. But when you said you've been published everywhere and lecture everywhere, I'm hoping someday you honor us with an online CE course on Dentaltown. We put up 400 one-hour courses, and they've been viewed almost 1 million times. And I would love...
I've used them.
Will you do that? You'll commit?
Absolutely.
On Dentistry Uncensored, we'll hold his feet to his fire. So first of all, I gotta look at you. You're an amazing man. What even led you to become a dentist? I mean, I could see you doing a dozen different things. Why dentistry out of everything that you could have done?
So growing up, Howard, I had two dreams, right? One was, I grew up in the Michael Jordan era, was to be a basketball player. And the other was to be some sort of a surgeon. And as I got a bit older, facial surgery was what sort of really caught my eye. So I took basketball as far as I could. I got a basketball scholarship at Sydney University, but I just wasn't good enough to make the pros or the NBA. So then I concentrated on my other passion. And in Australia, to do facial surgery, maxillofacial surgery, you have to do dentistry followed by medicine, and then you enter the intern and residency and surgical training programs. But once you finish dentistry, you have to do 2 years in private practice before you can get into medicine. And in those 2 years, I really, really just fell in love with being a dentist. It was just such an incredible career. So once the decision was made, that was it for me. And something that really got me in those 2 years was just interacting with patients and having a wide variety of treatment options, which is what you can't really do when you specialize. And then the other was microscopes. There's just something about it that really was in tune with my personality, and I got fired up, and it's been a journey ever since.
So who was your favorite basketball legend? Was it Michael Jordan?
Definitely Michael Jordan.
You know, not to get distracted, but but Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley, I have to tell you, they made bald cool. Before the, because I grew up a bald man. I lost my hair in high school. And so the Chicago Bulls were playing the Phoenix Suns, and Charles Barkley was the star of the Suns, and Jordan was the star of the Bills. Two gorgeous, bald-headed men, and they played 7 games, and after that series, bald instantly went to cool. Now, if you weren't bald, you might not have noticed it, but I mean, before that series, people were always trying to do comb overs and wigs, and after that series, men with good hair were shaving their head. So
nice.
they made bald cool. But you know,
that was 93.
Yeah,
that was in 1993. Great series.
And we should have won, but our forward guard got in trouble during the game. wasn't able to play all the games. Dumas.
That was Lucas Francis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it.
Playing with candy on the side and didn't get a sad deal. But you said something very profound about the microscope. I mean, we're at the end of the day, we're Homo sapiens, and we can only see 50 microns. So the fastest way to increase your quality is to wear loupes or a magnification. That's why I like scanning an impression, just so I can see it 40 times bigger on a screen. So do you agree that any time you can magnify something, it's going to increase the quality?
Absolutely. I think it's one of the routine questions I ask a younger dentist is, are you using any magnification? And if they say to me it's 4 or 5 times, it's big thumbs up with what they're using. And if they say no, it's a bit of a red flag because the teeth are so small, right? And when you are looking after a tooth, every bit of enamel or dentine really matters. So if you can see it at a bigger size, it makes such a big difference. And I started with loupes. I got my 2.5s in uni, and then as soon as I graduated, I got my 5 times loupes, which I thought were the best thing ever. And then it's sort of like dental photography. You get hooked, and you just want more and more and more. And it led me to microscopes.
Well, dental photography, people always want to talk about, should I buy a CBCT or a laser? And it's like, dude, the patient has eyes. And I think dental photography is the best thing, because I see people all the time flying into Phoenix to have dentistry done that I know the small town they're from, and there's some guy there that can do it better than anyone. But you go to his website and there's no photography of their own work. And I say, well, why did you come all the way from El Paso to Phoenix? And they say, well, this guy, look at all the work he's done, and that's his own work. And then you call back that other guy, and he's got a $100,000 laser, he's got a $100,000 CBCT, he's got a $100,000 CAD cam. It's like, dude, you need what camera would you recommend? Because I tell people you need magnification and a digital camera at day one.
Absolutely.
I saw your post on Dental Town about how on Dental Town you're talking about hooking an intraoral camera to an iPad.
Yeah. If you have iPads, they're pretty cool to use, right? But you just can't get, and you won't believe this, Howard. There is no intraoral camera that connects to an iPad through Bluetooth. So they all just do it through Wi-Fi. So it makes it very difficult to use, if you want to take photos. And so right now what we have to do is use our digital camera, send it through to Dropbox, then open it on Dropbox on the iPad. If only there was a simpler way. On Dental Town, Howard, I actually had an account that sort of crashed. I think it was called GB1, and I used it religiously, almost daily for about 5 or 6 years when I first graduated. It was a godsend. every day you'd go into dentistry and you'd have 1,000,001 questions about what you did on that day, especially in the first 2 to 3 years.
How did you spell it? Just JBONE?
And I think my handle was GV1.
GB? GV.
GV1. Yeah, GV1 back then.
GV numeral 1?
Yes.
Huh. But good. I'm glad it
Yeah, but then I made one with my full name about 2 or 3 years ago.
So what year did you get out of school?
I graduated in 2007.
So 2007, the one thing I've noticed, I've been going down to, I did an Australian tour all the time where I would fly at Ruth Port from Port Laboratories. Her and her late husband, George, would bring me down, and I would do Auckland, New Zealand, Melbourne, Sydney, Gold Coast, Perth, Adelaide. I do 5-6 cities, and I did that every 5 years, 90, 95, 2000, all that. But all of a sudden, Australia, they gave license to a lot of foreign trained dentists. They opened up a lot of dental schools. So when I went down there, when I started going down to Australia, every dentist was booked a month in advance. Yeah. And that was their only problem. And now the pendulum swung the other way. It's very competitive. So you graduated 2007. That's about the beginning of the really competitive scenario. So what do you say to kids that are coming out of dental school and they say, when Howard graduated, it was so much easier than now. You graduated in a much more competitive environment than anyone sees in America right now. I've seen both of those countries side by side for 30 years. You're in the most competitive dental market that I've seen in the rich industrialized world. Nobody is that competitive, not Singapore, nothing. So do you agree it's a very competitive environment?
Absolutely. So I actually saw it all happen, Howard, right? So when I graduated, we had 60 dental students in my year, and we had pretty much one dental school in our state, and there was about 4 or 5 dental schools in the country, and they were all graduating between 30 to 60 dentists. Then the government realized that dentistry is well served in the capital cities, but it's very, very poorly served in rural and remote areas. So they came up with this policy of graduating and accepting much more overseas dentists. And that has ballooned now to where in our state, there's 2 to 3 dental schools now, and they graduate around 300 to 400 students a year. And then we've got more dental schools elsewhere, and then we're getting a pretty good influx from other countries as well. So yeah, I've seen it is hyper competitive. So the advice I would give, I think the government's done a pretty smart job, and something to consider when you're pretty young is to go to more rural locations. It'd be much easier to find a job where you can do a lot more different types of dentistry. Whereas if you're trying to find a position in Sydney, it can be quite challenging, especially for a full-time position in a really good practice. I agree with your statement, Howard. There's a lot to do.
So what advice would you give to a young kid? How would you define your practice? And first of all, logistics-wise, I have 2 websites for you. I have dentallounge.com.au and I have dental99.com.au. And I assume the AU stands for gold.
Yes.
Right. So what's the difference between Dental Lounge and Dental 99?
So Dental Lounge is we're to sort of a full service type of dental practice. We're over 3 levels in the CBD or downtown Sydney on a pretty sort of prestigious medical street. We have 9 dentists that work for us with associated support staff. We do everything there. And Dental 99 is a sort of a different type of business. It's very tech based, and it's a bit more of a limited service offering with a fixed pricing model attached to it.
Which means what?
So At Dental 99, we only do 4 dental procedures, which are checkups and cleans, fillings, simple extractions, and toothache management appointments.
Dental 99 only does 4 procedures or 4, what do you call them?
4 procedures, yeah.
Wow, I've never seen this. 4 procedures. And what is it? Cleaning,
fillings, simple extractions, and toothache management appointments. So we get you out of pain. And this model, Howard, was designed to serve, in Australia, we've got a real issue where about 25 to 30% of the population does not access private dentistry, and our public dental systems are pretty overwhelmed. So we've created this model with the Dental 99 app to serve those people and serve people who are generally concerned about the price of dentistry in the country.
that is amazing. Did you steal that model from someone else? Is
No.
this unique?
Very unique. I actually did a course with a business partner of mine at a Harvard Business School, believe it or not, on disruption with Clayton Christensen, who was the father of disruption theory, and we looked at dentistry after doing that course, and we thought, what could we do to sort of do what Netflix did to Blockbuster or Uber to the car industry, transport industry, and that's where Dental 99 came from.
That is so amazing. So all of your treatments at Dental 99 are because they're $99.
Yes.
That's just crazy. And how is that? How's it working?
Fantastic. So we developed the apps for Dental 99. It took about 3.5 years to develop. And the only way this model is going to be successful is by using the Dental 99 apps. And that's replaced all the manpower, or a lot of the manpower, that we will see in a traditional dental practice. So at any Dental 99 practice, there is no reception. You download the Dental 99 app, you check in with the app, and you wait for your procedure, and all your x-rays, clinical photos, everything is transferred to you through the app, and you book your own appointments.
That is just crazy.
Yeah, we're very excited about it.
Well, how long has it been up and running?
So 3.5 years in development, 5 months in operation.
And so now, are these partner dentists, or do you have employees working for you in this? How does this work?
So we've started with employee dentists with us. So we've got currently we have 2 practices, about to expand to 5. But then we are now finding partners that'll go in with us, and we work together with a smart and successful dentist. And we're opening clinics that way. So we're expanding fairly rapidly, Howard.
And one of the problems with having a business model that's done by employee dentists is the turnover is incredible. I mean, most of these people that work in these big DSOs, they only stay there for a year or 2. And yes. Humans, when you study economics, you cannot deny that people need to have skin in the game. And yes. So are you thinking of rolling this out with more skin in the game, or what is the business model?
I agree with that completely, Howard. I mean, I think we've hired at this point an exceptional team who are really passionate about our cause. So we have, and I know we haven't been around for 10 years, so we haven't really had many turnover issues. But the partner model is definitely something that will allow us to expand more rapidly, have people with skin in the game, and take ownership of the brand and of their own practices with us.
Wow, that is so interesting. So you think it's going to be a success at this point?
I definitely do, Howard. Everything is pointing in that direction right now. Like any good idea, though, the execution and strategy is much more important to get success.
Right. That is so in your other office you have
Yes.
so that's Dental 99. I was not aware that it was that unique. I mean, that is my God, I'm this podcast is I love it when I'm the biggest fan of my own show. I learned so much. So you have and
actually stay tuned, Howard. We want to bring the model to America soon too.
Well, you got you know who to call first.
Yes.
And let me say something that about Australia is that in America, as much as you hear about all this talk about big DSOs like Heartland and Pacific and all that stuff, none of them are publicly traded. To find that, you need to go down under to Australia. The only publicly traded ones to this day are 1-300 Smiles. With Dr. Daryl Holmes, founder of 1-300 Smiles. He was podcast show 850. You have Pacific Smiles Group with Dr. Alex Abrams, episode 841. And then the first billionaire in dentistry is Q&M, Dr. Raymond Ong, because he came out of Singapore and he's racing across rural China. And that market is so big. I mean, the reason the United States became so much bigger than its mother country, England, is because we have 5 times as many people. And the reason China will be so big is because they have 1 in every 5 people on Earth. They have 20% of the world's population. So why do you think 1-300 Smiles, Pacific Smiles, and Q&M are all publicly traded, but Aspen and Heartland and Pacific Dental, they're not on NASDAQ. They just bounce from one private equity holder to another. Why do you think that is? And even let's go to UK. My dentist has 800 dental offices now. So when you were down in Harvard, I'm sure you guys thought about those, the triangle of My Dentist in UK, Aspen, Heartland, and in America, and Pacific Dental. So what's your thoughts? Why are they publicly traded down under and not in the UK or America?
I think if you look at all the models out, being publicly traded has its advantages, but there's a whole lot of disadvantages to it as well, I think in Australia, we sort of really went for it at an era where aggregation of dental practices yielded some really good results. And one of the first ones that was done here was called Dental Corporation with a good friend of mine, Ray Corey, and he aggregated and then ended up on a path to publicly listing, but he ended up being bought out by Bupa.
Oh yeah.
So I think once people saw the value and the value generation in aggregation of dental practices, we ended up with the 1-300 Smiles and the Pacific Smiles groups, and then at the time, I think IPOing was probably the best option to have good value returned or return on investment from having all these dental practices. But recently we've had one down here that has tanked terribly. It's called the Totally Smiles Group or Smiles Inclusive.
It's called what? It's called what?
Totally Smiles. I think they're listed as Smiles Inclusive. And I believe they are the most poorly performed public company in the last year.
Nice. And who was behind that?
Look, there wasn't a head dentist involved, and I think all the examples you mentioned and all the successful aggregation of dental practices are usually led by a dentist, which is really important. And the ones that tend not to do so well are the ones that are led by non-dentists, more corporate types who probably don't understand the dental market as well as you would if you've worked in it, And dentists, we're all interesting creatures, and I think we're very special in certain ways. And being a dentist isn't a simple or easy job, and you need to have good understanding of that dynamic if you are gonna corporatize it or round it up. So those examples you showed were successful. I think they had good founders and good dentists / business people that allowed for them to be successful.
So Smiles so it's smilesinc.com, AU?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, the one thing when I said that's awesome, I'm glad to hear about it. Someone might think, well, that's a mean thing to say. And what it really is that my favorite business mentor has always been, it's always been Jim Collins. And when I got out of school, he wrote the book Good to Great, and then he wrote Built to Last and Great by Choice. But my favorite book was How the Mighty Fall, and why some companies never give in. And you know, everybody always wants to hear motivational speakers about, well, how do you get to the next level? Well, Newton's law, for every force is an equal force. Compare that positive gain to what's negative. How did the mighty fall? And I actually have learned more about how the mighty fall. And you already went to on the Smiles Inc. that, I mean, come on, you're in the dental business and you didn't have enough time to become a dentist. Wouldn't that be
exactly.
Wouldn't that be kind of, you think the basic foundation is that maybe I should become a dentist if I'm going to take over the dental industry? And I see this because when you're my age, when my 4 boys have turned into 5 grandkids, I'm already starting to see that, you know, I'm worried about the transition when I'm gone, and I'm worried about where my grandchildren go to the dentist. And I don't want them going to some place owned by an MBA that says, well, 30% of our new patients should need root planing and curettage. How about you need root planing and curettage because you have gum disease?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't want to go to a physician that says, well, 20% of our patients should have chlamydia. Well, maybe you should only have chlamydia if you have chlamydia. I mean, I do not like, and then you look at the great companies, you know, the founding father was the active component. And then as soon as he dies, you start the descent. And it's only going to be 1, 2, or 3 generations and they're completely gone because because your grandfather really loved dentistry doesn't mean his son's going to be. I mean, we work this out in government. It's called nepotism. You can have a great king followed by a guy who's completely aloof and doesn't even care. So Totally Smiles went publicly traded and now it's delisted, or what happened?
Yeah, I think they've been in a trading halt for a little while now. Their share price was down from $1 to 6 cents recently. It's I think a colossal case of mismanagement. And the worst thing is just lots of good dentists in there really suffering right now. A few that I know pretty well, as the company's in a halt and they're just trying to do good dentistry, and they're caught up in this swallow things. Back to your point, Howard, there's a saying here. I'm sure it's the same over there. It's the first generation makes it, the second generation keeps it, and the third generation squanders it. In terms of
oh my God, Tracy Penn is the executive director there. Do you know Tracy?
No, I did not. I hope no. Hopefully I haven't insulted one of your friends.
No. I mean, fair is fair. I'll have to get her on the show to say what were the lessons learned? How did the mighty fall? And that is just amazing. And hopefully she'll say, well, we have to meet in person, and I'll just fly to Australia and stay with my brother. That is amazing. So what was your take on why you think they failed?
I think they went under the assumption that if they aggregated 50 to 100 dental practices and they combined, you know, all the back end office stuff that dentists don't want to do, like finance, HR, and payroll, and then they combined the marketing efforts and put it under a single branded umbrella, that would be enough to be successful. And in our market here in Australia, that is not the case anymore. You need, you know, I think probably on the simplest level, they just didn't do enough marketing. They spent so much on everything else, and they didn't build the Totally Smiles brand to where it was a bit more of a household name, so that it, you know, the revenue spent on building the company was going to reap some rewards, and just didn't.
Huh, interesting. So let's go back. I'll try to. So
Yeah.
99 smiles. I mean, do you smell like a little revolution here? I mean, is this going to be a disruptor? Do you think that you're onto something that's going to be disruptive?
Uh, Absolutely, Howard, and we can see from the patients we're getting now how successful it's going to be. So we're currently just based in Sydney, but we're next year we'll be opening in nearly every capital city in the country. But we have people flying in from Brisbane and Melbourne, or driving 6 hours to come and use the service, from Canberra or other parts of the state. It's pretty remarkable. And if all you need to do is spend time with a few of our patients to realize how successful we'll be. These are people who have been 2 years with a chronic abscess. They struggle to eat, and they've just been so scared of the high fees of a traditional dental practice. And then now, and then we've given them this model, which is the transparency and the openness and the sharing of information. Gives them a lot of comfort. So they're happy to come use our service. And so if you talk to a few of these people and how thankful they are at us providing this to them, I think that'll be all you'll need to know about how successful it's going to be.
And the only secret to lower prices is lower costs. Like when Southwest Airlines, they were so much lower cost. Well, what did they do? They got rid of meals. They only flew a Boeing 737. They only flew direct back and forth. They didn't do hub and spoke. I've noticed that, in dentistry, the number one cost is always labor. And I've noticed you've designed out some of the costs by making you don't have front desk. You download your free app, you search for an appointment, you book and say by paying only $99 per treatment. Do you have to pay $99 to make the appointment?
Yes.
So then if they don't show up, they're out $99?
So if it's out of 24 hours, we're pretty nice about this. If it's out of 24 hours, we allow them to book another appointment. If it's under 24 hours, we charge a $50 cancellation fee.
Yeah, Australia's got that weird Canadian thing going where you're always trying to be nice. Americans would just say, "You lose, you lose."
Well, we're in healthcare, Howard. We got to look after our people.
I'm just teasing. You got to be. I love my nice Canadian friends.
When you were saying about cost cutting, Howard, I want to bring this up because we are in healthcare, right? So there's some things you can't cost cut, and I think it's good clinicians and good dental materials and equipment. But there's pretty much everything else we've looked at, cost cutting. Like I said, the app does so much of the manpower related stuff, which is the biggest cost in a dental practice. And then setting up of these practices is a very unique proposition because we don't need Cerex or microscopes or really crazy expensive equipment.
When you say cleanings, fillings, you only do 4 procedures: cleanings, fillings, extractions, toothache management. I think of toothache management as an extraction, but what are you doing? An IND, a pulpotomy, or what?
Yeah, we'll do an extraction or an extirpation or a pulpotomy. Sometimes it's some sort of a perio-related pain, which we'll look after as well. Do a little bit of perio treatment.
But you won't do a molar endo for $1,000.
No, we don't do that. No, so we will start the endo, and then we will, ask the patient will go in.
So your number one cost would have to be the dentist, correct? The overhead.
Yeah.
So how do you pay your dentist in that model?
We do a mix of salary and commission.
Can you explain it, or would you prefer not to?
I think I'd prefer not to, Howard.
Can you email it to me?
Definitely, it's quite proprietary.
Or post it on Dental Town. So you spent a lot of time on the app.
3.5 years. So one of the things we realized, the concept came to mind when we were at Harvard. It was Dental 99. We said, all right, let's do dental. And then we said, how can we make this work where we can provide a really low fee, because I think the average for a clean in Australia is about $200 to $300, and filling's about the same, if not more. And we spent a lot of time, and the one realization we came to is that everything has to be app-based. And
Everything
we've already
has to
got
be
it
what?
App-based. We have to have the app replace the manpower. We have to have the app handle all the payments, all the reception type of issues. And then we really quickly realized that we have to have our own management system as well, which we've developed too. So there's Dental 99 patient app, but we've also developed the Pro app. And that's something, and that's
you said you had the Dental 99 app that you can get on Google Play and the App Store, but you also developed a what app?
It's an app for the dentists to use, or the clinicians.
What's that app?
You can't get it publicly, so it's called the Dental 99 Pro app. We install it on the iPads for our clinicians.
And what does that help them do with their pay, their scheduling, their all that?
Yeah, it's just like any other practice management system, but we ended up developing it uniquely for Dental 99.
And that's called the Dental 99, the Pro
app.
Dental 99 Pro app?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pro, yeah.
And
yeah.
So are you going to license this app to other cities? Like say I wanted to try it in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes.
And since I'm look the most like Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan with the bald head down here, would you license it to someone?
We absolutely have a strategy for that. Yes, and the answer is yes, Howard. With the app was not built just for a few practices. It's built in light of Uber, so we could have 1,000 to 10,000.
Okay, so now I'm on my own show applying for a job. I hope you send me an email. No, because I got an MBA. I love business models. I love dentistry and I love economics. I love business models. And it's so easy. You have 5 fingers. Is it faster? Is it easier? Is it higher quality? Is it lower cost? Is it miniature, more smaller, succinct? And these guys, and by the way, I never signed an NDA, so I get a couple hundred emails a day, and at least one of them wants me to sign an NDA. It's like, how could I sign an NDA? I mean, all I've done is dentistry for 32 years. You think you're going to tell me something that I've never heard of before, ever, and sign something? The way to not get sued is don't play with lawyers. I don't play with lawyers. I don't sign NDAs. And the way I look is like McDonald's. I mean, you go to McDonald's. Is there something you can't figure out about the business? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's hamburger, fries, Cokes. It always comes down to operations logistics. Either you can get a team to carry out this play, or you're just having a dream in your mind and you might as well sit on the couch and watch Netflix and Fortnite and surf Facebook. I mean, it always comes down to operations logistics. But most people always sit there and say, oh, I wish I would have thought of that. Well, you can still think about it today. There's a new hamburger chain in town. Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is a great example. My whole lifetime, McDonald's was 1, Burger King was 2, Wendy's was 3. And then the founder, Wendy, died. His daughter took over, implemented a bunch of stuff her old man never did, and moved from 3rd to 2nd, which totally shocked me. And as I was basking in the shock that Wendy's passed Burger King, Chick-fil-A comes out of nowhere and passes all 3. And now the average Chick-fil-A does twice the revenue of a McDonald's. McDonald's are about 2 million and Chick-fil-A's 4 million. And when you go to Chick-fil-A, I mean, come on, it's a chicken sandwich. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I wished I would have thought of that. Well, it never comes down to the first guy who thought of it. I mean, look at Coke. It was only 9 years later and Pepsi came out. I mean, so your success is going to come down to a great business model. That's paramount, but it's going to come down to operations and logistics. Can you find a team and execute this plan?
The answer to that is yes. There's another side to this as well, because we are getting a couple of copycat models in there. Is one, we'll always be 3.5 years ahead of our competition, right, in terms of development of the software. And, I think our competitive advantage is giving the patients the most ideal and unique patient experience. See, our patients, when they finish with us, they get a notification on their app. These are the treatments you need. We share with them their x-rays and before and after photos, which we do for every procedure. And so they have a really good understanding. And one of the goals in all this was to give the power back to the patients. That's our sort of business motto. And we empower them with everything they could want to be in control of their own dental journey. And then the other part is, Howard, which is we really have an excellent team. And we've built a team where we have not only just dentists on board, but we have dentists that are now working as software developers. We've got a huge blackboard in one of our practices where we map the patient and clinician experience. And if there's anything that one of our team thinks can be improved for a patient perspective or a clinician perspective, we put it on the board and we bring it up with our software team and we improve on it as straight away. And these little things, will end up moving mountains and giving us that execution and competitive advantage we're after.
So, congratulations on all that. So we crushed it on Dental 99. So let's go over to Dental Lounge.
Yes. So, Dental Lounge, like I said, it's a really full service type of dental practice. We do everything. We've been around for a long time. I actually started working in Dental Lounge when I was a year out of dental school, and then I became a partner about 5 years ago. So it's really one of those unique, wonderful places to be. Really great team, and I think a lot of our patients feel the love we all have for each other, and we just provide them with really exceptional dentistry.
And are these employees or associates?
In Dental Lounge, we're associates.
And what is your goal of an associate? Do you think do you like when I asked the boys, when I asked Daryl and those guys, they said that they thought it was a great model if you can come right out of school and stay with them 5 years, and their experience about 20% turnover a year. So you come out of school and within 5 years you start your own, and they were completely happy with that. Is that the way you look at dental lounge?
I think 5 years is a great goal, and in an ideal world, we would bring on someone as a partner. Once their 5 years are up, give them some skin in the game, so that they can, be part of it. Just sort of the same sort of trajectory I've been through. I think the most important thing is finding really good associates. It's a really hard thing to do. But finding the right associate where you get them at the right time and the right stage of life that they're in and in their career, so that their values are in line with the practice's values, that allows for us to be really successful together, which is really important. I think in my experience when my first job where I worked out of dental school, I worked with a dentist who had 3 dental practices, and he was a really lovely dentist. But wherever I worked, he was not there. He was at the other practice. And that's really challenging when you're young. But in the second role of mine, I had 2 really, really, really good mentors. And if I have any advice for any of the younger dentists out there, that would be get yourself in a really good situation, and find yourselves some really good mentors, because they really will shape your career and change your life if you end up there. And I saw chalk and cheese between the two. And I try and do that as much as I can for our associates as well, in helping them grow and become better dentists.
Well, what would you say to the young kids? That is, to me, you nailed it. You come out of school, you need a mentor.
Yeah.
But they never think like that. They always, the question's always like, well, right now, if I go to Wichita, Kansas, there's 3 people looking for an associate, and one will pay 30%, but I pay half the lab bill. The other pay 25%, but I have to split the, it's like, dude, what does that have to do with anything? You were just paying $100,000 a year to learn, and now you want to stop all learning over who pays half the lab bill? I mean, to me, it's like, well, where do you want to be the day you retire? And if I know where you want to be on that retirement day, I can point the direction to go there. But if I have no idea where the hell you're going, I mean, imagine if Magellan, when he set sail from Portugal, we're just going on a cruise. We're not really headed to the Strait of Magellan. We're just out sailing. I mean, so what advice would you give those kids? Because they look at their $284,000 in debt, and it makes them so money driven on their decision making, which I understand. But in the big picture, you'll make more money knowing where the hell you want to go. By the way, on that Magellan trip, in that while they left with 270 men. They came back 3 years and a month later, and they didn't even have 18 men. And Magellan was dead.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that was the first guy to circumference sail the planet Earth, and it was a 90% fatality, including Magellan. I mean, my God, those guys are brutal. And now people whine because MapQuest made them turn the wrong corner. It's like, well, you didn't die. You're still alive. I'm sure Magellan would have enjoyed to have MapQuest. But so what advice would you give those young kids when they're nickel and diming their employer over where they want to be?
Yes, sacrifice. One is sacrifice. I think you got to give a year or two. Just like our medical colleagues, they're pretty much interns, right? They're interns for a year or two. They're not doing, they're working under the umbrella. So find a really good mentor, and in the first couple of years, you really just want to be learning. What I did, Howard, and it's really, really hard, like you said, to find young people to do this at this point in time. When I first came out of dental school, the person I told you about, he gave me essentially 2.5 days to work, right? But the other 3.5 days, I just went and shadowed him and just watched what he did. And I did that for 6 to 12 months. And it was really hard, but I learned so much. And there's so many intricacies of being a good dentist. And you see that, and you can only do that by watching someone. The way they walk into a room, the way they shake a patient's hand, how they talk to a patient, all the tiny, tiny little steps that someone learns in 20 years, they'll never be able to tell you. They're going to have to show you. And finding a good mentor is a two-way street where you have to put in some time with them, and usually it's unpaid time, and learn. And the other thing that really helped me, and I know this might sound coincidental, but it was Dental Town. I'd be doing something during the day. Let's say I'd do a class 2 filling and I couldn't get a good contact. I'd run on Dental Town in the evening and watch YouTube videos. And we're in a really great, really wonderful time where you can do so much learning on your own time as a dentist, and in lots of professions, through things like YouTube, continued education on Dental Town, getting on group forums. And then if you tie that in with having a really good mentor to work with, the sky's the limit. But that first year or two, I would be strongly encouraging to not to be too focused on earning an income.
So where do they, when kids in Australia come out of school, do they usually go to like Bupa first, or 1-300 Smiles, or are they usually going to work in a big box chain retail dental center like Bupa?
I'd say it's pretty mixed, Howard. Because our corporates here, they're not as big as the ones over there. And you guys do have a bigger population. So the biggest one here is Bupa, and they've got 200 dental practices around the whole country. It doesn't really, the economies of scale aren't as big. And someone like Pacific Smiles Group or 1-300, they're nowhere near those numbers. So most people end up in a general dental practice, the local dental practice, or in a corporate chain. I'd say it's a fairly even split between them all.
And who's the top dog of Bupa Australia Dental?
As in the dentist, or the biggest.
Or who runs it? I mean, Evelyn Bork runs it out of the United Kingdom.
Yes.
She's group CEO of Bupa. Who's
So
Bupa
the Australian
Australia?
Bupa Australia is a lovely individual. His name is Hisham El Ansari. He's
How do you spell that? Hisham?
Yep. And I think the surname is Al-Ansary. And then the head of the dental arm is Mark Jeffrey.
Can you email both of them and introduce me?
Absolutely.
I love business models, and when
they're both wonderful people.
And the other thing, talk to the kids, because they'll be working at, say, Heartland, that has 800 offices, and just with a bad attitude. And then I'll say, well, okay, all my friends that own one dental office basically can't manage that and don't know any of their numbers. So you work for a cat that owns 500 to 1,000 offices. So tell me what you learned from him. And they just learn that they don't like it and that they want to have their own office. It's like, and then the smart ones like you that work there, if you worked for Heartland you'd work there for about 6 months, and then you'd convince like their regional manager, best person in the whole operation, to leave the company and go help you start your own dental office. And the next day,
I'm just having a connection issue.
And then I'll say, well, what did you learn from working at Heartland? And you'll say, oh, I found out who their best, smartest employee was, stole them. So you would have gone there and in probably 6 months figured out who the smartest person was that knew all the operational logistics, the details, the business, the banking, the financing, and you would have gone and started your own damn dental office. I mean, it takes people, time, and money. And how do you work for Bupa that has, how many offices around the world do you think they have?
Oh, dental ones?
Yeah.
I'd probably say 500 to 1,000.
Yeah. So you worked for someone that runs 500 dental offices and you didn't learn anything. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's not you and your bad attitude. That has to be. You
got to make the best of your situation, whatever it is, Howard. So if you're the lowest associate in a corporate, there's you can always find a really good senior dentist there that would be willing to help you. I think dentists by nature understand that you don't get to become a good dentist without other people's involvement. And we do have this innate nature about us to want to give back to other people for the rewards that we have received over time.
Yeah,
you just got to find the right people to do it.
I mean, just read this on Bupa. I mean, Bupa. Here's their. Just fathom this. Bupa operates dental centers in UK, Australia, New Zealand, Spain. We directly employ 80,000 people for our dental offices in UK, Australia, Spain, Poland, Chile, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Turkey, US, Brazil, the Middle East, and Ireland. Oh, and you can't learn anything working for those guys? I mean, your attitude determines your altitude. I mean, my gosh, this Evelyn Bork out of UK, she just seems, she's a typical operator. And what I mean by an operator is that in America, everybody knows the CEO of famous, sexy companies like, Apple and Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. But I'll say, well, in my lifetime, one of the fastest growing, biggest companies ever was Walgreens. And they grew 30,000% in my lifetime. Who runs that? They don't know. Because they're Hollywood wants to think that the CEO is a hot guy driving a Mercedes-Benz or a red Ferrari with the hot chick. Well, that has nothing to do with it. They're operators. And here's Evelyn just sitting at her desk in London and employs 80,000 people in her dental offices, treating 16.7 million patients. You can't learn something from that? I mean, that is just amazing. So what other I want you to talk about, I consider you an expert in so many things, but technology is obviously one of them. And they come out of school, $285,000 in debt, and they say, well, if I want to be, when I grow up, if I want to be just like Gama, do I need a CAD cam, a CBCT, a BioLace laser? What do I need to play in your league? What technology made you?
Yeah. You hit the nail earlier on with photography, right? That's a really big one these days. And I don't think you can be a really great dentist. I mean, you can be, but you can't get that message out there enough without really good photography. I think magnification is really, really, really important also. And then something I'm passionate about, I know you guys work on this, is digital smile design, and getting really good at it. It's such a great tool for cosmetic dentistry.
And what do you need for digital smile design?
Not too much. Photography, camera work, get to a course. They do courses all over the world.
Are you using someone else's digital smile design platform, like, say, Christian Coachman? Or
Yeah, Christian Coachman, yeah.
So you're using his?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And they've got the digital smile design app. It's about 3 or 4 versions in now. It's really a great tool for patient communication. And then, they all talk about emotional dentistry a lot, but there's a real good part to that. A lot of my patients will come in and they'll tell you what you want, with sort of cosmetic type of dentistry, and there's nothing like showing them what you can do or where you can get to with this software. I've been a huge believer in CAD CAM. I've used Cerex since 2008. I don't think that's necessary though, but it is helpful. And then there's a few add-ons there. Videography attached to a microscope. The digital smile design stuff, they do facial scanning, which just came out in the last year. And I think that's been a really great tool for us to communicate with our patients and show them in 3D what we can achieve through their work.
So, CAD CAM, you're kind of, okay, you definitely want the Christian Coachman digital smile design app, and that's the website, digitalsmiledesignApp.com. Well, first of all, when I want you to touch on something, I want to go totally different. A lot of these kids, and even the adults, they're just stressed. Yeah. And you watch them talk on Dental Town, and they're not really, their biggest problem isn't deciding which burr to use or which bonding agent. They're a lot of them, their biggest problem is just stress. How does a guy like you handle stress? Besides alcohol.
No, I'm probably love alcohol, but I drink too much. I think I've got you got to have a good balance, but I don't like the sort of the new work lifestyle balance that's really focused on in younger professionals these days. What I do, I get up real early, Howard. I'm up around 4 a.m. I'll get some exercise in. It's the first thing I'll do, and then I'll get some work done, right? And I love that early morning. So I've got from about 4 a.m. to about 6:30, where I am. I've got my own time, right? So I'll exercise then, I'll get some work done, and then my kids get up, and then I'll spend time with the kids, and then I'm off to work. So I think some things that stress me from time to time is not getting enough done in a day, and then just adding that extra time in the mornings helps a lot.
And what is your exercise routine?
So I vary it around a bit. Variety is the spice of life. But I'll tend to run and lift some weights 2 or 3 days a week, and then I'll do a basketball workout a couple times a week. I'll play one basketball game in the evenings, also, and then I've been doing Krav Maga, which we talked about earlier, a couple nights a week from time to time, and so that's an Israeli self-defense system. And the best way I can explain it, Howard, is they teach you how to be Liam Neeson in Taken. But dentistry is such a hard physical profession. You really need some exercise, some of that good stuff to look after your body and well-being. It'll give you that longevity and happiness.
The only thing I hate about working out is when I walk into the gym, everybody wants me to. They want to hire me to be their personal trainer, and I'm just like,
oh man, that's hard. Must be hard now.
I know. And one thing I always wondered, you are so prolific on public. I mean, you're published everywhere. I mean, I'm looking at dailymail.com.uk, Cosmetic Dentist Gamer. Verdian reveals the 10 habits women with white teeth have. Why are you always the go-to guy to quote? What advice would you have to someone who wanted to be the famous guy like you?
Get your foot in the door first. You do a few articles, and if you know the right people, they look after you, and then it becomes much easier once you've got your foot in there. You've done a few appearances on TV or something, or read in a few articles. Then they sort of end up coming to you for opinions on certain things. But something about publicity, it is a little bit about who you know, and looking after the right people. We were fortunate. We got a few really good patients through the practice that had public profiles. That helped out a lot. And be patient. These sort of things do take time. And be really good at your job. If you be a really good dentist, it'll end up coming to you if you seek it.
And last but not least, I have to ask, what I see mostly is these kids, they're working someplace, they're not happy, they want to get out, and they know what to do, they know where they want to go, they know everything, they're just scared. They're just, it's like they know they want to, they're just afraid to dive in head first. So this is my assessment of all the Americans that I see. They come out of school, they're scared, so they go work at a job until they're so miserable. After a year, they quit, they get another job. So they get a different job every year, 5 years, until they're so miserable. At this point, they don't even care if they die.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, now I don't even care if I die, so I'll finally open up my dental office, and then they live happily ever after. How do you skip? How do you contract those 5 years, or make it? How do you work on that?
Yeah, I think for me in the first few years, how that was really stressful was not doing the quality of dentistry that I wanted to do. I think it's pretty important that you do focus on. I got some great advice when I was leaving dental school, and one was keep performing dentistry as though you still have a tutor over your shoulder, right? And that'll help guide your day-to-day decision making. And then another great advice I got was focus on something you really love in dentistry for a year, right? So whether it's periodontics, endodontics, whatever it is, right? You focus on that for a year, you do all your continued education, it really becomes a passion for you. You get really good at it, right? And then you do something else the next year. So, if you did perio, then you focus on endodontics the year after. You do all your continued education courses in endo. You go to courses online, you research endo, and you get really good at that. I mean, that process of getting really good at something and something specific can be very rewarding, and it really helps develop you as a dentist. And then the other part, like I've said before, is find some good dentists to be around. People that are going to motivate you, inspire you, people that will make you want to be a better dentist and a better person. In the professionals world, there's something like YPO, right? Where you end up getting matched with other business people, and they mentor you. And it's not just a mentorship in dentistry, it's a mentorship in life. Whatever other challenges you have that you can take to this person, it really will make a world of difference. If you're alone in an island, the way you're saying, Howard, and you're just working, and things just get worse and worse, and so you just get stressed and stressed. It's not much fun, and it's very easy to spiral into that world.
Well, I knew this would be an amazing podcast. It was so profound. Love to have you do a course on Dental Town.
Sure.
If you're looking for a Dental 99 USA beta shop, I would love to test it in Phoenix. I'm in the 6th largest city in America. The Phoenix metro is about 4 million. But thank you so much for coming on. And the next time I go down under and see my brother Paul, I hope we can all go out and have a beer.
Please look me up, Howard.
Okay, consider it done.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on board.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was an honor to podcast you.
Same to you. Same. Thanks, Howard.
All right, bye-bye.